Courtney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here today. As has been said earlier, the topic of this hearing could not be more timely. The labor market continues to outperform all of the predictions of economic experts on both the right and the left. On June 2nd, when the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics report came out, the economy, again, defied all the predictions, created 339,000 new jobs. At the same time, as Dr. Kimbrough said, the number of job openings increased. So, trying to sort of solve this problem for both employers but also for prospective workers is all about trying to change the metrics in terms of how a person connects to a job opportunity. In southern New England, we are seeing this phenomenon, on steroids. Right now with Electric Boat Shipyard, who is doing, again, a huge increase of work for the Navy in terms of submarine production. Last year, they hired just under 4,000 people in Rhode Island and Connecticut, and the hiring target for this year is 5,750. So, when you are dealing with an issue of that magnitude, skills-based hiring, just by, sheer volume, is driving change in terms of how people are approaching. The good news is that WIOA pre-apprenticeship training programs really have just shown at this moment in terms of setting up accelerated programs for welding, electricians, metal trades in general, that over a period of 8 to 10 weeks, you can actually get in the door of the shipyard and then go from there on a daisy chain up to a full apprenticeship training, and then even to advanced degrees, because there's a lot of work for engineers, both in cyber and design work, that's happening right now. The biggest issue that we're hearing from our workforce board in terms of how we can fix this, and again, a lot of the reforms that you have discussed here today, I think would be a really good help for rewriting WIOA. But trying to get people, particularly from communities that really haven't traditionally sort of been part of this sector, to sort of take the leap in terms of moving forward, is dealing with just basic issues of how do you afford to take care of your kids, get transportation, pay the rent during that time period. And there's a limit to just how much the stipends under WIOA can really afford to make it feasible for people to move that. So obviously Pell Grants, short-term Pell Grants would help the cause, but last year's WIOA actually addressed this issue by just sort of recognizing these realities in terms of trying to help people really transform their lives. And again, Dr. Kimbrough, maybe you could comment in terms of just how that can really help solve this skills gap problem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Congressman. Absolutely. We have seen in our own data, which spans over 200 million members in the U.S., the impact of the shocks to the labor market, both from the pandemic and then the recovery, which was on its own sense kind of a positive shock. And as a result, we see that it's really important for workers to have all their needs met in order to be able to explore careers, because careers are not prescribed anymore. They're very opaque. It's not a ladder where you go one step, next step. You acquire skills, and then you look around to see where could this skill possibly be applied, where can I maximize my income. So absolutely, it is important and imperative that we find ways to expand all the pathways for people to access skills and then be able to demonstrate them, have them validated, so they can have career progression and receive really better wages.
And so again, that's why we have to really focus on sort of just basic, realities for people in terms of trying to make that change. It's not that easy, as much as we know it works. So another example of earn while you learn is apprenticeships, which goes back to the 1930s, the Fitzgerald Act. Congressman Fitzgerald had my congressional seat at the time when President Roosevelt signed that into law. We know it works. But unfortunately, it has been too narrow a segment of the population that's been served by it. Our reauthorization that got through the House last year actually would extend the scope to other sectors like healthcare that have not traditionally been apprenticeship. And again, Dr. DeBroy, in a few seconds, maybe you could just sort of talk about how that model, which again allows people to deal with how you pay the bills, can really change people's lives.
Absolutely. Apprenticeships, as you say, they're a time-tested way for actually offering employers a very reliable pipeline to skilled talent. And while they have traditionally been concentrated in the trades, we did some work last year that actually showed that in the last 10 years, apprenticeships have expanded to 100 new roles in our labor market. And employers have actually been implementing informal apprenticeships in an additional 200 roles. So they are absolutely a method that employers should be thinking about considering in more scale in the coming years. Thank you for the question.